Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy has all your high school football road trip needs this season. Get the right gear for the long season with free curbside pickup today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
What's up, everybody? Welcome along to the TexAgs High School Football Show. Ryan Brauninger and Jason Howell as we get ready for the regional finals across the state. That means there's two teams left in every region. It's essentially the state quarterfinals. I know the 1A is a 1 week ahead, so the six-man stuff, I believe, is in the semifinals. But all the big school 11-man classifications are going to be playing in a regional semifinal, regional final, state quarterfinal this weekend. We are certainly looking forward to that. Jason Howell was all over DFW again last weekend, and man, just some marquee matchups across that region as this thing gets dwindled down, huh?
No doubt, man. It was a great weekend. Once again, all classifications. You just had some. I mean, it's win or go home, so everybody's pulling out all the stops.
Well, and I know that like South Oak Cliff bounced back in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
Another quality win, a close game, and the power players in Dallas have remained the power players in Dallas for the most part.
Yes, sir. And I happen to be, out at South Lake Carroll McKinney at Choctaw Stadium, or as many know it as the ballpark in Arlington. And I got to see almost a stunner with McKinney, really doing some work, keeping it. Had the lead for the most part throughout the game, took a 21-7 lead to half against South Lake Carroll. 42-35. Carroll pulls out the win, though, is able to get it done in the fourth quarter. But that was such a back and forth battle, and McKinney gave South Lake Carroll everything they wanted. South Lake got big games from Jacob Jordan, 2024 receiver, who I really like, just a really electric, shifty, quick, just do it all guy there in the slot. And Owen Allen, again, with a monster night. I want to say he had over 200 yards rushing. But Brian Jackson did everything he could, for McKinney. Had the first touchdown pass of the game, put McKinney on the board with a 42-yard touchdown jump pass. South Lake was able to pull out the win and move on to a matchup with Denton Geyer on Saturday. That's going to be a big one in that 6A D2. And then Saturday, I was down again at Choctaw to see Louisville and Keller got out to a 3-0 lead, and that was all they were able to get on the board as Louisville pulled away for a 43-3 win, and they move on to a matchup against Prosper. Overall, just a all-around effort from Louisville. Their ground attack is, man, they get after it. It was a sloppy field. The weather played a role. It's a little chilly. I got some rain on me during the day. But that Louisville offensive line is absolutely huge. One guy I've singled out as a prospect to watch is 2025 O lineman Michael Fasusi, 6'6", 280 pounds, just playing his third year of football. He's playing all over the line for Louisville, and definitely a guy to keep an eye on. But overall, that offensive line is it's stout. It's as big as they get in the state, and should be a fun matchup against Prosper this week.
Yeah, I think I always tell you, I think that Prosper program may be one of the more underappreciated ones in DFW. It seems like they're 3 or 4 rounds deep every year.
No doubt, and they get after you. That defense attacks as well as any, and they're definitely a strong program. That district, man, they play in that Denton Geyer Allen district, and Geyer and Allen have have garnered more of the headlines over the years, but they're always consistently in that top 2 or 3. So they definitely they're always a team to watch. Yeah, they're going to give Louisville everything they can handle. They're coming off a big win over North Crowley, and what I thought was two similar styles. I went with Prosper over North Crowley, even though a lot of people had North Crowley favored, because I love that district that they come out of. They're tested, and they're gonna take you down to the wire. They're gonna beat you up, and you're gonna know you played Prosper, Texas when you're done.
Yeah, it reminds me of that 6A district here on the east side of Houston with Atascocita, North Shore, C, King, Summer Creek, that whole group. 3 of those 4 still playing in a regional final. I had 2 games on Friday. Started at Del Mar Stadium in Houston, Fort Bend Marshall against undefeated Montgomery Lake Creek. Here's my thing with Fort Bend Marshall, like this year's version of Fort Bend Marshall. If you're a hurry up, no huddle team, you want to score a lot of points like Montgomery Lake Creek did all year, you may want to slow it down and start celebrating some 3 and 4 yard games. What happened was Lake Creek couldn't really block Fort Bend Marshall, and they kept wanting to go fast. And what was happening is they were holding the ball for 60 seconds, 90 seconds, and then punting it away.
Yeah.
And then they weren't stopping Fort Bend Marshall on offense. I mean, it was out of hand at halftime, 55-18 final. I mean, just what an impressive showing by the Buffaloes. And they are going to be heading into a rematch with the winner of the second game that I saw on Friday, Port Neches Groves and Brenham. There at NRG Stadium. That was both 5A Division II clashes. P&G has a 10-point win over Brenham. So Coach Jeff Joseph, first-year head coach ever, and obviously first year at P&G, advances to a regional final. And I asked him after the game, I said, "What did your dad do?" His dad, for those that don't know, legendary Katy head coach Gary Joseph. I said, "What did your dad do in his first year as a head coach?" He said, "They lost in round 3. He said, "So that's pretty cool that you have outdone a Texas high school coaching legend that just so happens to be your dad in year 1. But I tell you what, P&G's got a 2025 offensive lineman that is really shooting up my ranks in that class. Jackson Christian, almost 6'6". He's grown since I saw him in the spring. So he's almost 6'6", 300 pounds. Where's the size 16 shoe that he busted out of in the previous round game? So they're already working on getting him bigger shoes. Massive hands, great length. I mean, this kid's got checks all the boxes, kind of like your guy there at Louisville. These are going to be high-end offensive linemen, Power 5 kids once their recruiting starts taking off, probably this offseason. So P&G moves on to rematch against Fort Bend Marshall, a game that I went to earlier this year. Fort Bend Marshall won 35-14, but P&G in the third quarter had the ball. They were down 21-7. And moving, and then they had a fumble, and then Fort Bend Marshall did what they can do to people. Is just in 2 or 3 possessions, the game looks different, right? But P&G's built to have some success, if anybody is, in Region 3 and Region 4 against Fort Bend Marshall, because they're massive up front. I mean, legitimately,
you have to
280 to 300 pounders across the line, and they've got a style that will, they'll get 4 yards and then they'll run the play clock all the way down. Like against Fort Bend Marshall and probably against SOC, those teams that are uber talented in 5A Division II, don't get in a shootout. Shorten the game and see how many times you can keep them from getting the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are you mentioned Fort Bend Marshall and SOC there. Those are 2 physical teams up front on offensive line and defensive line. So they can score in a hurry, but they can wear you out. So if you got an offensive front or somebody that can take the air out of that defense and make it a little less attacking, then you can slow the game down, take that offense out of their rhythm, and really make some headway in that department.
So I mentioned that rematch. I believe there are 12 rematches across the state. in this regional final round. I just off the top of my head, Atascocita North Shore, that's going to be an absolute banger. That's 6 o'clock on Friday night at Randall Reed Stadium in New Caney. North Shore wins the first matchup 16-13 on just David Amador heroics late. Shiner Refugio, another rematch.
You got
I'm missing a couple. I think
Grandview Malakoff and 3A D1. That's going to be a big knockdown drag out. Burleson Centennial Aledo and 5A D1. That's going to be a big one. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few more across the board.
I'm trying to think. Those are just ones I remember off the top of my head. Oh, Dripping Springs, Austin Vandergrift. That was a week 1 game.
Wow. Okay.
And meeting up again. So all across the state, there's bangers. I mean, just great matchups. And I guess we can get into it, Jason, a little bit looking at next week. But I mean, how are your state championship picks looking in terms of who's still alive?
I think I'm doing okay. I want to say 6AD1. I had Westlake. Got Geyer in D2. Longview, who's got a big matchup this weekend with Timberview. I've got them pulling it out. Let's see, man. Stephenville got knocked out in 4AD1, and we've already talked about that. Anna took it to them, pulled out the big win.
Anna beat somebody else last week, right?
Salina? Salina, and then they got China Spring this week. So, I mean, they're going death row. If Anna gets through this, man, I don't know, man. They got to be your state. You know, they got to be up there for a favorite. But that is a murderer's row. And if they can squeeze through that's 2 state champions they've beat, and Salina, a program that is as historic as any in the state. So but yeah, I think I'm sitting all right. Lexington in first round, that was a stunner. But I think overall I'm doing pretty good. I have most of my finalists. How about you? You're all set, right?
I've got all my champions still in the running. I've got 2 finalists that got knocked out. Lumberton had a lead on Tyler Chapel Hill last week. And Demetrius Brisbane and they said Ricky Stewart has been just incredibly good running back.
He's a player.
They put the team on their backs, him and Demetrius Brisbane, and Lumberton had I think a 10-point lead going into the 4th quarter, and Tyler Chapel Hill rallies and wins that one. And then I had Fulshire winning 5A Division I Region 3. This Smithson Valley team, man, they are fearless, and they're playing good defense, and they're physical, and they're going to run the ball right at you, and they're going to be creative with it. It's I'm going to be there. Well, we can look ahead to this weekend, but maybe I didn't give Smithson Valley's defense enough credit.
Well, and that's why I picked them, Bronny. I mean, that's why I picked them to get to the state championship game anyways. But you can always count on Smithson Valley to be tough. But my goodness,
well, they hold Fulshire to 13 points. Fulshire be scoring 50, 60 every week.
Yeah, I mean that's impressive. That's a statement. That's probably the biggest statement win they've had all year, and they've played some big games there at Smithson Valley. So
yeah, for sure. All right, what's your week look like?
Well, I'm going to be back at Choctaw Stadium again. Arlington calls my name, it seems, every year or every week to see South Oak Cliff at Melissa, 7:30 on Friday night. Get to see Javon Thomas, I want to say he's averaging over 20 yards a carry at running back in the last 2 games. So he's hit the ground running in his comeback. And has that South Oak Cliff offense humming at a different speed. Last week, 11 carries for 217 yards. The week before, he averaged over 30 yards a carry. So, he's doing some real work out there. I'm really excited to see him and get to see Nigel Smith. And on that other side, one of the top 2024 defensive linemen in the state. And that Melissa offense, last time I saw them, they were taking down Lovejoy at home to end the season. So they've been on the march, and this should be a real heated contest, just like South Oak Cliff saw last week against Midlothian Heritage. And then on Saturday, I'll be at Denton Geyer to see this Geyer Carroll matchup in Justin at Northwest ISD Stadium, 2 p.m. Get to see Peyton Bowen, who just continues to do it all. He's scoring touchdowns, whether it's on defense or special teams, every single game.
He's got a shout for the number one player in the state this year.
He is nuts, man.
He really does.
He is incredible. He's just been phenomenal. His speed and athleticism and instincts are off the charts. And he's playing with, like, I want to say he's got a broken hand. So he's playing he's doing it with one hand and doing it really, really well. Jackson Arnold has Geyer humming. I'm predicting Geyer to pull it out. Should be a fun game there on Saturday.
I've got a pair of games on Friday at NRG Stadium. I'm going to start with Silsbee, and maybe, the way that Peyton Bowen's playing in 2023, Draylon Miller at Silsbee is playing that way in 2024.
He is, man.
Off the charts good there for Coach Randy Smith and the Tigers. But he has been the show just about for Silsbee. He's going to be going up against a team effort in the Aquero Gobblers where, you look at their roster and there's not like a big Division I standout on it, but they have just been rolling people. I mean, and they beat a really good Hampshire Finette team last week, beat them very soundly, a team that was in Silsbee's district. So the Gobblers got a really good squad looking to return back to AT&T Stadium for the first time since Jordan Whittington took them to a state championship, what was it, 4 or 5 years ago. So that's Friday at 1:30 at NRG. Then the nightcap there at NRG will be Katy against C.E. King. Look, I've said about C.E. King, when they get off the bus, there ain't many better looking teams in the state of Texas. I mean, big, physical, fast, good looking kids. But this is Katy we're talking about. Like, when has that ever mattered to a Gary Joseph coach team? In order to beat Katy, I've said numerous times, it doesn't matter what kind of athletes you got. And I'm reminded that year, the COVID year, when Katy played Cedar Hill in the state final. And remember, Cedar Hill came out barking, getting in the face of the Katy players. That doesn't matter to them. They're a machine. So, C.E. King's going to have to use their physical nature to withstand the pounding that the Katy running game and then the play action off of it. It's just what they do to people. So can C.E. King hang around long enough to make it interesting in the third and fourth quarter? We'll see. And then on Saturday, headed west to Pflugerville ISD and the Field, which starts with a P. I think that's pretty cool how Pflugerville starts their name of their stadium with a P, the Field. They're in Pflugerville for College Station against Smithson Valley. And College Station, I mentioned it last week, I think they've really started to figure it out behind junior quarterback Arrington Maiden offensively. Sophomore running back Aiden Martinez-Brown has been fantastic since the last week of the regular season all the way till now. The folks here in College Station already comparing him to Marquise Collins. So pretty incredible job for Coach Pryor at College Station. Consider the coaching turnover, and Decatur, where Coach Huff went, is still up and
rolling.
And Nate Palmer, who was going to be their best returning player after Marquise Collins' injury, he goes to Decatur, and all College Station has done is reload and go right back to regional final. Now we'll see how much they can get that offense rolling against that Smithson Valley defense, but I'm super interested to see. And here's the thing, man, is like Region 1 and Region 2, those state semifinal matches. Knockdown, drag out brawls, right? The Region 1 versus Region 2. Region 3 against Region 4, unless it's like a Austin Westlake or a Converse Judson, maybe a Cibolo Steel. Region 4 typically really, really struggles with Region 3. Right. So you look at Region 3 winners, Smithson Valley can win on Saturday. You got to like their chances in a state semifinal, so how all this stuff shapes out and what the matchups look like going forward. I think we're going to have a really good idea who's going to AT&T Stadium by this time next week.
Well, I think so. I'm right there with you. And I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of our state finalists end up there. It is it's been plenty of chalk so far, and I don't think that's going to change too much. You may have like an Anna that's been putting it on people, and that's a talented team that's been overlooked. But for the most part, it's a lot of teams that have been there, and it's a lot of teams that have been really impressive throughout the season.
Well, keep an eye on this one too. Columbus against Franklin.
Yeah.
On Friday night in Tomball. I talked about Columbus before the playoffs started. They can score points in bunches. I don't know if they've got the horses all over the field like Franklin does.
Yeah.
But we're this deep in, anything can happen. And when you got a quarterback with a Schobel as a last name, Columbus going to have a chance in that one, I think, if they can withstand the Bryson Washington show at Franklin.
No, should be a fun one right there for sure.
All right. For Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger. Be careful traveling on the road this week. Getting ready for a couple more weeks, and I'll be heading to Jason's neck of the woods there for state championships. For the TexAgs High School Football Show, we'll see y'all next week.